Welcome, everybody, to the Touching Bases podcast. We're diving a little bit deeper into the AL Central and specifically one team, the Yankees, a team that I typically don't cover, but their offseason has been much more active than most of the teams that are in the AL East at this point. And to be honest with you, I think they're pretty set. The fact that the Orioles have kind of only did one pickup that was to replace a closer that was injured, and then they already have their star-studded 100-win team. They didn't make it very far in the playoffs, but I think the Yankees now are kind of moving back into that rhythm now that they got a couple of guys back. But we'll dig into it. If you're new here, please sit back, relax, enjoy the show. If this is your second video and you're back here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way you can get notifications when you hit that bell. I just want to talk to you guys about baseball, and I think that's what would be fun. Let's go.
And Judge sends a drive out to deep center field.
Torres. Fly ball right field and deep. Conforto back. He's on the track. He's on the wall. See ya! A two-run home run for Torres.
The New York Yankees. What can I say about them? They've always been the epitome of the AL, because they were always known to be that hardcore winning team growing up. In the 90s and the early 2000s, they were the ones that everybody feared. They were the strong bats that had everyone. And ironically, I think they're coming back around. They're starting to look like that kind of team that can blow everybody out of the water. I wouldn't say they're exactly as high caliber as the Dodgers, but very close, especially with the transactions that they made during this offseason. So, digging right into it, let's just go over some basic facts. Anthony Rizzo is now back. He's off of the 60-day DL, and so is Jose Trevino. They were both injured during the second half of the season, and you're going to see him back in the lineup. Now, where they're going to go, we'll dig a little bit deeper into that. But they did do a couple transactions. Left field, now covered by Alex Verdugo, coming over from the Boston Red Sox. And then San Diego decided to give up their beautiful baby, Juan Soto. And he will most likely, I'm going to assume, take right field, unless, Verdugo and him have a little chat and decide who's going to go where. But one of them is going to go to left, one of them going to right. They made a couple other small transactions for left-handed pitchers, and then also Jeter Downs they picked up off the waiver wire from the Washington Nationals. Now, he is an interesting key factor because he was expected to blow up as a top prospect, but his rookie year was really rough, so we'll see if he has a comeback. And then they just recently, they believe yesterday or 2 days ago, picked up Bubba Thompson off the waiver wire from Cincinnati Reds, another outfielder that's quick on his feet. Who knows, just a nice little slide in maybe to give one of the guys a break that are if their record is looking good. Just a nice little strategy, but the depth in the outfield is insane. Let's start off with catchers. They pretty much have a full rotation, like a pitching rotation of catchers. They have 5 deep, which is, I don't fully understand it. Whatever, you do you, Yankees. But who's going to start on opening day? I think that's the big question that we're all asking, because during the season, it seemed like they kind of split up the catcher position last year with Austin Wells, with Jose Trevino. Now, here's the thing. I know Jose Trevino was going to be probably their main guy to go with, but hear me out. Jose, before he got injured, had 157 at-bats. Now, out of those 157 at-bats, he batted .210, had 4 home runs, 15 RBIs, no stolen bases with an OPS of 569. Not too bad, not shabby, not good, but not bad for only 157 at-bats. Now, Austin Wells came in out of nowhere, and he only had 70 at-bats. So I get it, it's half the amount of at-bats. So forgive the batting average being a 229. Yes, I understand it's better. I know your argument is he didn't have as many at-bats, so his percentage goes up based on whatever he did. But he also had 4 home runs in that time, and he hit 13 RBIs in those 70 at-bats and an OPS of 743. So without averages and just looking at the raw numbers of the hits and the RBIs that he was able to produce, he performed better in that sense than Jose Trevino. So I'm going to guess Jose is probably going to get the start, but I think Austin Wells might actually play more in 2024, given the fact that they don't want Jose to get injured again, and catcher is a taxing position to play. So that's probably where it's going to be. It's probably going to go to Austin Wells just based on his performance last year. First base, it's kind of easy, right? Anthony Rizzo's back off of the DL, so he's going to be back for 2024. He's going to have help with Oswaldo Cabrera. DJ LeMahieu could play first base, but he's going to be the third baseman. I mean, that's already been announced by Aaron Boone. You Yankee fans already understand and already know that. I guess the big question was, will he stick with this? I don't know. I mean, it really depends on the health of Anthony Rizzo. Anthony crowds the plate when he bats. He's very prone to getting hit by pitches, and that you get hit by enough pitches, you're going to get injured. I think I've heard multiple commentators mention this in the past too. So either changes up his batting stance and gets himself out of the danger zone, which I don't see him doing because of the fact that he's able to perform with what he's got. But he's most likely going to be the starter for you guys in New York. Yeah, I know that was bad. Second base. Pulled a signing with the Jeter Downs, as I mentioned earlier, for the Nationals. He was kind of a severe disappointment in his rookie year. Last year, he only played 6 games. I didn't look too hard into this because I was looking at every single position for the Yankees, but I'm pretty sure either he was injured or he was just benched. I'm going to go with injured because of the fact of how good he did in those 6 games that he played, which may be the little hint that gave the Yankees the thought that maybe this guy would be a offensive and defensive asset if something terrible were to happen. In those 6 games, he was able to bat a .400 with a 1.067 OPS and a .400 slugging, where he struck out once, walked 4 times, got 1 RBI, and hit no home runs. I mean, I don't know. It's only 6 games and he batted .400. Okay. I mean, it doesn't really say much, but maybe that little bit made them believe that he could be developed and turn into something special. I'm really pulling things out of thin air on this one because there's not really much to go off of, obviously, from his track record and what he has done. But consider him as like a backup along with the other backups that they have on the infield going forward into 2024. But don't think that he is going to start there. Let me be clear. He is not starting, but they did pick him up, so keep him in mind for second base if Torres goes down. Torres is going to be is like one of the 4 or 5 stars now that are on the Yankees. After last year's performance, he batted 596 at bats, had a .273 batting average with 25 home runs, 68 RBIs, and 13 stolen bases with an OPS of 800. Very good, and in fact is on par, if he continues this, to be a replica of Robinson Cano when he was in his prime in New York. That made him basically one of the most famous second basemen of all time. So, towards repeat this, you have yourself a new franchise infielder. Shortstop. Everybody loves shortstop, but this is obvious. Anthony Volpe, clearly. Now, here's the thing about Anthony. It's his rookie year. He did damn good as far as slugging the ball last year, but he needs to work on his contact and his strikeouts. He had 541 at bats, and out of those 541 at bats, he only batted a .209. But 21 home runs, 60 RBIs, and 24 stolen bases. So when he got on base, he was stealing bags. When he was at the plate, he was hitting them out of the park. He had an OPS of .666, which is not okay. Volpe, you got to change that shit real quick. Now, was he all cracked up to be? To some, yes. To others, no, who are a little bit more critical of baseball players, especially in their rookie year. But if your rookie season is 21 home runs and 24 stolen bases, and you have an OPS over 500, I'd say you've planted yourself pretty good in a certain position on a team that doesn't exactly have a designated player for that position, being shortstop, and they didn't really have a designated person that was just there. The last person that they had there that was like a designated shortstop for the team truly would have been Derek Jeter, and he's been gone for years. The thing is that he needs to work on his strikeouts. He struck out 27% of the time last year. If he can maybe get that down to 21%, I'm going to guess that 209 batting average is probably going to creep up to 270, 280, and that would be monumental. That would earn, I mean, that's probably I would say a 6 to 7 win player right there, and that is huge if he's able to do that. But he's got to work on his contact. That's all I'm saying. Third base, like I said earlier, Aaron Boone said DJ LeMahieu is going to play that position. I don't think the Yankees are in the market for any free agents at this point. The only one that I could think of that would fit with the Yankees that could be possibly brought in, I don't think they would ever replace Rizzo at this point, but DJ, they did sign him to a 6-year, $90 million contract. and that averages out to like $15 million a year. So keep that in mind as far as contracts. Matt Chapman would be the only option, and to be honest with you, if Matt Chapman is asking for like $100 million, I think he asked for like $100 million over the course of 4 or 5 years with the Blue Jays, and they were like, nah, we're gonna pass. I don't see the value in it, considering that DJ LeMahieu, who had 497 at bats, hit 243 with 15 home runs and 44 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, OPS of 717. Okay, I know that's a lot of numbers. Now let's compare it to Matt Chapman last year. Matt Chapman had 509 at bats, so 12 more. He had 12 more at bats than DJ. His batting average was 240, 0.003 lower average than DJ LeMahieu. He hit 17 home runs, 2 home runs more than DJ LeMahieu. He hit 10 more RBIs and only had 2 more stolen bases, and his OPS was only 0.032 more than DJ LeMahieu. The numbers are so damn close. It makes zero sense for them to go after Chapman, especially if DJ is there and they already have a bunch of utility players that can play backup for him. So it doesn't make any sense for them to go after Matt Chapman. I've been seeing this in a lot of articles and tweets on X or posts on S, I don't know what you call it anymore. So this is just kind of my justification for the reason why I don't think that the Yankees are looking to pick up another free agent unless it's going to be pitching. And that's what I'm going to be getting into in a little bit. The outfield, it's stacked. I think we already knew that. The outfield is, Juan Soto, Verdugo, Judge. That's a powerhouse for the outfield. Defensively, okay. I think Judge is fine out in center field. I think Soto will be okay out there. He's not like I don't know if he's going to be Gold Glove material next year. I think he's mainly just a bat. Verdugo's pretty utilitarian. He can do a little bit of everything. He's not like a major bat for the Yankees, but he is going to produce. And then you have Giancarlo Stanton, DH, as always. He's probably just going to stay DH. Now, if anything happens to these guys, they also had in the trade with San Diego Trent Grisham come over, and Trent can play, and he is good. I've watched a lot of the Padres games, and he can play. So if they need someone back up in the outfield, he is a go-to automatic start. Not to mention they still have Jason Dominguez. I get a lot of mixed reviews from people about Jason. I think he's good, but what do you think? Comment below. Now, before I get into pitching, I just figured that I would point out an interesting story that's been going around a little bit, and that would be with the Yankees dealing with Marcus Stroman. Marcus Stroman has shown interest in the Yankees, and the Yankees have mutual interest that they've said, but they don't plan on making an offer anytime soon to him. I think he has kind of dug himself a hole social media wise, and then his relationships with his former teams, and then also the contracts that he declined with the Cubs recently, thinking that he's going to be able to go and get more money, but the pitching is so saturated and all of the relievers that were picked up so quick and they were hot, and then seeing how it's dwindling down towards certain teams have made moves and trades and they don't really need the pitching anymore. It's really come down to a very few amount of teams that need pitching that are willing to take on Marcus Stroman with the money he's probably demanding. It just doesn't make sense how he's going about this. I think it's all kind of crumbling around him. It's not really the plan he was looking for, but some of his tweets about the Yankees organization, the Mets organization, has in the past, which have been deleted, I think are kind of hindering his relationship with these teams and the owners, and it's kind of iffy because of the way I don't want to say he's arrogant, but he does give a big ego, which causes issues, especially when there are options out there that they can go with that will probably cost about the same depending on what they're offering. You still have Jordan Montgomery out there. I don't see why he wouldn't play for the Yankees. They need another starter. Blake Snell, I don't know if he will go to the Yankees. I know he's expressed interest because I think anybody who has a Cy Young award in any nature, and the fact that he has 2, he would love to go play with another Cy Young award winner with Garrett Cole and be part of this team that is very stacked. I mean, let's be honest, the batting is stacked, so at least he knows he's going to a team where the runs are going to support him when he's on the mound doing his thing. The last one is really coming down to 2 days. I mean, today's the 9th, and Shota Imanaga, who is coming from Japan, but he has to be signed by the 11th. So either today, tomorrow, or the next day, we're going to have to hear something about him getting signed with some team. And he is, I would say, just the next step down from Yamamoto that's coming over. I mean, here's the thing. His record doesn't sound good, but his ERA and his WHIP sound great. He's a 7-5 record. Could just be the team he was playing for. But he had a 2.66 ERA and a 1.01 WHIP in Japan. That's really good. Now, even if he comes to the MLB and players are significantly better in the MLB, I think Japan is very good, and we're seeing a lot of talent coming out of there, and they're starting to show themselves. So that might be a really good position for the Yankees to grab one of those guys instead of dealing with Marcus Stroman and all the kind of antics and ego and all the stuff that they've had to deal with in the past already. And although he is very good, I don't know if they're going to see it as a fit when they have other options that are probably going to cost just as much. Now, this team is stacked on paper. Like in the comments of my last video about the Dodgers, everybody's saying, "Oh, the stats don't mean anything. You can't buy a World Series." Yeah. Okay, guys, I understand that, but statistically, that's what you go off of the stats to decide who you're going to add to your team, because you know based on stats who's going to perform and who's not going to perform. And then you also go by the morale. Are they in good morale? Are they being positive? Are they good clubhouse members? Are they happy to go to the city that they're going to? There are a lot of factors, but you still need to go by the stats that are on paper on the guys you acquired to determine who's probably going to do the best in the regular season. And I'm telling you right now, the Dodgers are going to dominate unless they get plagued by injuries. And it's because they are spending the money to get the players that they want to win, which is saying that they are buying into a winning team, which is buying them access to a World Series. The Yankees can do that as well, but they got to choose the right people. And I don't know if Marcus Stroman is the best option there. This team is in a really hard division. This Yankee team. Last year, they went 82 and 80. They were 2 games above 500, and they finished second to last, right in front of the Red Sox, which means that every other team was that much better than them. The Orioles, who finished in first, they were 19 games behind them. This, on paper, because all of you are about, you can't buy your wins, whatever you want to say, they are buying wins. And they're buying wins to get back to be competitive and be a 1 or 2 seed in the AL East, which is fine, which is okay. They're doing what they know best, and that's buy players that are going to perform. Do they always work out? No. But you go off the stats that tell you who's going to perform and then who's not going to be a good fit. It's very simple. You use the stats to see, and on paper, this should push them up to be a competing team against the Orioles or even take that number 1 seed for the AL East. And I think this is a good route for them to go. Now, also keep in mind what the other teams are doing. The Red Sox, they just lost Chris Sale. They're missing a pitcher, so they're probably going to pick up one of these 3 that I just mentioned. But if they don't, that brings their pitching down even more, which means more hits, which means more runs, which means more wins for the Yankees. The Blue Jays lost Chapman. I don't know where Chapman's going to go. Like I said, probably not the Yankees, but some team that really needs a third baseman. I can think of a few, but there's very few options because of the money issue, because I know that Matt Chapman's asking for a lot of money. But Blue Jays have not filled that role at third base. I don't know who they're going to put there. They haven't really been overwhelming in the offseason. They've re-signed guys, and then they signed one of the former Yankees who wasn't that impressive either. So I don't know what the Blue Jays are doing, but I wouldn't expect them to outdo what the Yankees have done as far as performance. The Rays lost Glasnow. That's another huge arm they are not going to be able to use against them. They lost Wander Franco. He was a savage on the field. And I guess off the field, but not in a good context. You know what I mean. And they also lost Luke Raley, who for a first year at 28 did phenomenal for them, and now he's going to the Mariners. Cool with that. So they lost him. I don't know who they're going to replace for the outfield out there. They did pick up Jose Caballero, but Caballero's not the best bat, just a good defensive player. So I don't think they have to worry about that. And they might be getting rid of more because they have a lot of payroll that's about to creep up on them. It's going to cost them a lot of money. And if you know the Rays, they cut before they actually have to pay. They developed, they try to make it, they don't make it, they sell the team pretty much and then restart and rebuild. That's how they work. The Yankees have a chance to slide up behind the Orioles and really take control. The Orioles didn't really lose anybody in the offseason, and I don't see why that they're going to perform less unless there's injuries that happen. And they are waiting for Jackson Holliday to step up to the plate, which is going to be huge for the Orioles. And if he starts playing and he starts crushing it and they have all these guys playing, that's their number one competition this year. But I think the Yankees have what they need to get the job done. But it is a heavy task ahead of them. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. Again, if you are new here, consider subscribing, hit the notification bell so that you can get all the updates of whenever I upload a video. And if it affects your team, you can get my insight. We can talk a little bit. Like the video if you like the video. Now that we're at the end, all of you like or dislike the video. If you dislike it, you know the drill. Go ahead and leave a comment below, and I will see you guys on the next one. See ya.